Hey, everybody. Welcome to another session of CPaaSAA Talks. We're flipping the script a little bit today. Usually we've got a really cool technology provider or a really cool communications provider on. Today we're talking to one of our advisor members here at CPaaSAA. So really excited to have some guys. We know that in the market, especially within our membership base, we've got a lot of people looking at how do I get out in front of customers? How do I generate leads? How do I talk and generate conversations? So hopefully we've got some answers for you here today, because we've got the team from Intelligent Demand, who I've worked with in the past. Love working with you guys. Let's do a quick intro of what you guys do in the market and who you guys are.
Oh, that's great. Robert, it's great to be here. Thanks for having us on, Aaron and me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Great to have you.
Well, ID, we shorten it to ID. It stands for Intelligent Demand, and the name should probably tip you off a little bit about what we're all about. ID, or Intelligent Demand, stands for smarter growth. I mean, that's really what we do as a partner of our customers, and the timing couldn't be better for what we do. I think, at the end of ZERP free money and the continued changes in buyer behavior and the continued evolution of go-to-market and marketing and sales, so many things have changed over the years since all three of us have been doing this B2B growth stuff, that it's really time in most companies to take a fresh look at how they go to market, about how they create targeted awareness with their best fitting customers, and then pull them in to conversations and engagement with their content and ultimately with their sellers that adds value, that matches the way that they actually want to buy, which might not be the way we want to sell and market, and then hopefully pull them into not just the first contract, but really a lifetime value relationship. That's what we do. So we help customers figure out the right strategy and then stick around to execute that strategy and measure it and make sure that it doggone works correctly. So that's really what ID does.
Love it. Love it. So I can't tell you how many questions we've gotten over the years. You and I were talking earlier, and at our last summit in 2023, I sat around a table of revenue leaders, and the number one question that came from everybody was lead gen. How do we do it? ABM. What do I do? How do I do it? So I'm really excited to have you guys on board and start talking about that and really enabling our membership to take that next step from how do I do it to, okay, let's get this thing cranking.
Yeah. I have a lot of empathy for folks who are in the seat. I call it being in the seat. Or like, you are personally responsible as an executive for driving growth at your company. Because I used to do that, and early in my career when I had hair, Robert, I was head of marketing and/or sales and/or partnerships at a bunch of different technology and service companies before I thought it would be a good idea to start Intelligent Demand. So I really understand what it's like to be in the seat and on the hook for driving growth. And Aaron does too. I don't know, Aaron, I haven't let you talk yet. You should introduce yourself too.
Yeah, well, I just want to say I take exception, Robert. When you said that normally you have really cool tech partners on here, and today you just have a service partner. I think you forgot to say a really cool service partner.
That's right.
That's fair.
Yeah, I just want to clarify for the audience that where we fit in the spectrum. So obviously, my role today is exactly the seat John's talking about, but I've spent my career, last 15 years, almost 20 years, leading sales, marketing, strategic communications, branding, including for utility companies. And so, really excited, Robert, with what we're talking about here, because I've sat in the seat where I was looking for, partners to come in to help us add products and offerings that we couldn't do in-house, to add revenue and to add services for our subscribers. So really excited for what we're chatting about here.
Good stuff. And I'll give you another kudos. So really cool service provider, but you guys are also deep into the technology as well.
Yeah,
right?
we are.
As we've been talking through this, there's an entire tech stack and methodology and mindset that goes into this for you guys.
That's right. Well, that really quick note about that. It's not just marketing automation anymore, and it's not just websites, as you probably know. I mean, it's intent data, it's MarTech, it's sales tech, it's the technology stacks that call centers and SDR teams use, and then it's all the reporting and analytics and integrating layers and APIs to make these disparate RevTech platforms actually support your go-to-market strategy. There's a lot to it. And Aaron, is literally one of our RevOps experts as well at ID. I play one on television. He is one in the real world.
I'm a recovering RevOps guy, slowly healing the wounds of years of Marketo and Salesforce. Yeah. No. So yeah, look, we geek out on that stuff because, the technology is there to make things more efficient. And sometimes the way that it gets executed and implemented, it creates blockers versus opportunity. And so we believe that when you align the strategy and your tactics with the right technology, the combination of those three things really opens up some really cool doors that if any of the three of those are off, and oftentimes more than one of those are off, companies get stuck in the mud. So, we like to geek out on all three, and so big tech nerds over here as well.
Good stuff. So Aaron, you and I, we've spent some time whiteboarding, throwing spaghetti up against the wall. We at CPaaSAA, we just released the service provider playbook. So we've literally taken all of the information around where the market's going, what are the opportunities for service providers, distilled that down into those key elements. That if you're thinking from a product perspective, you're thinking from a strategy perspective, that's really where you need to start in terms of what am I going to bring to market. And then we've taken it the next step with toolkit, spreadsheets, and different pieces to help really wrap the strategy around your business and then sell that internally. And then we've got 93 different solutions and use cases that are actually out there working in the wild with real results. We know who the buyer is. We know what the pain points are. And we put that together. But the next question was, okay, well, how do I get this in front of my customers if I'm a service provider, right? So I thought it was only appropriate to reach out to you guys. We've done this in the past and really start to put together a program. So Aaron, as you look at what we're doing with the playbook, you look at what we're doing with this demand gen solution, what's got you excited, and why do you think this is the right way to do this?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of things. So one, first of all, being able to work with you guys at CPaaSAA now and really taking all of the expertise that you've accumulated around these playbooks, right? So the real, you have figured out the product marketing side of this equation. And the other piece that companies need to generate demand is having integrated plays in the marketplace that are actually taking the message and the offers that are in that product marketing strategy and putting it in front of the right prospects and the right customers. And that's what we've done for 15 years now at ID. And I think being able to take some of those lessons learned and wrap them into sort of rapidly deployable plays that don't require, you've already done the hard work, the hard upfront strategic work. So how do we get something in market quickly? How do we show results quickly and do it in a way that is faster, more efficient, cheaper, more effective than it would be if you had to hire multiple headcount to be able to achieve the same results. So and you have to start from scratch. So it's really it's an interesting opportunity. In some cases because of just the nature of telcos in general, and which is primarily who we're talking about here, who have sort of that regional dominance and that existing customer base that we can set them up and enable them to be able to sell these ancillary services to this existing customer base. That's something that doesn't exist in every market, and so being able to, it gives us some opportunities to create some stuff that we can't always do, and it's just it's kind of a new challenge, and that's exciting for us.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how this works out and get a handful of our members starting to kick the tires on this in market, because we've taken the guesswork out and really distilled things down on the strategy and the product marketing side. But like you said, we can do the exact same thing on the entire demand gen side of things, right? There's no reason for people to necessarily reinvent the wheel as we bring these solutions to market. Right?
Yeah, Robert, I just want to dive in a little bit with that. There's a chocolate plus peanut butter makes a delicious, dessert here, Reese's peanut butter cup opportunity. Because, you think about what you've done with the playbooks is leveraged your and your teams and this association's kind of rather deep experience across multiple use cases and scenarios to put the folks who are smart enough to leverage your playbooks, kind of in the red zone, to use a football metaphor. It's like you've done a lot of that work. And that's what we're doing now on the demand side and the ABM side and the brand awareness and the sales enablement side. Because the truth is, we've been doing this for 15 years and, working with, all kinds of different telecom and broadband companies in the industry globally and in North America. And, every use case, every customer is unique. But the truth is, if you've been doing this for a long time, you realize it's only unique in the last 20% or so. And so the ability to take that best practice playbook from a product marketing standpoint and then combine it with the best practices playbook and plays from a demand standpoint, that's the jam. I mean, that I think is very exciting. And there's just, the net effect is for CPaaSAA members is it allows them to not wander around the wilderness of practice, hoping to eventually unlock what's going to work. Together, we know what works, and we can kind of take them there on the fast train.
Yep. And I love the peanut butter and chocolate analogy. So I'm going to have to go get some Reese's cups.
I know, man. I know. My problem is that I eat too many of those and then I have to go for a run.
I hear you. I hear you. So you guys have been at this for 15 years. And it's the reason I reached out to you is because you are steeped in the communications industry. So let's talk about some of the programs that you've seen and that you've executed in the past, and what's really gotten you excited in the market and as you look at these campaigns.
Yeah. Well, like you said, Robert and John alluded to earlier, we've done work with a lot of telecom companies, a lot of communication companies, and we could talk about a lot of the different programs, but there are two that stand out to me that I think were really interesting for different reasons. The first one was with the company GTT, global teleservices company, and we were working with them to introduce SD-WAN technology to a new audience. And we realized, and we recognized, and they recognized that those purchasing decisions were being handled less and less, or being made less and less by the IT technical buyer and more by the business buyers. And so the challenge was, how do you speak to these business buyers? And I love the creative angle that came out of those conversations that we helped them develop around really humanizing SD-WAN, something as nerdy and technical as SD-WAN, being able to make that applicable and relevant and interesting and compelling to heads of operation, heads of marketing, and other folks outside of the IT department. So that was really exciting because of that shift in how we do the product marketing. And then on the other side, doing work with Comcast Business years ago was opening up new markets for some business fiber offerings, and they wanted, like you said, Robert, a lot of interest around ABM. They wanted to take an account-based approach to doing this. And from what we could find, there wasn't a whole lot of experience in the telecom space of really using true modern account-based strategies to reach businesses. And so we felt like we were kind of opening new ground here, and it was incredibly effective. And we did some really cool things around really targeting major enterprises within these geographic areas to help make sure that kind of establishing the rate base for these expansions to be able to bring on major subscribers to kind of make that expansion profitable. So those are two that stand out to me in that space, sort of on opposite sides of the equation from in the marketplace. But those are two that stand out to me.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I would add the work we did together when you were at IntelliPeer. I mean, that was really, literally, we won awards, we drove pipeline, we showed how marketing and sales could work together. I would add that as a third case study. And just a couple of thoughts about that. I've learned over the years that, telecom, I don't mean to be rude to anybody, but like telecom, broadband, there's this tendency in this industry to fall heavily into product speak, and to fall heavily into the way we compete is lower cost or higher it's like feature fest or, heavy discounting, buy now. And I'm not saying that is bad, but I think that this industry has tended to over rely on those things. They tend to be like product focused, feature focused, and well, what if I knock the price down 20%, right? And, what we like to do with our clients is to come in and find out what is that real value proposition in the eyes of your target audience that talks about value first and then leads it to the product, leads that value conversation to product. And by the time you get to price, hopefully your target customer is saying to themselves, you know what, maybe all of these solutions aren't created equal. Maybe this one fits my needs even better. And so this idea of connecting brand to demand to sales is really one of the threads that runs through all of the work we've done in this industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're playing on one of the central themes that we have within the membership base, which is don't talk about the technology. Nobody cares about speeds and feeds anymore.
Right.
You got to start with the use cases. In fact, at last year's summit, we had an entire session on you can't start with and you can't say CPaaS during the session, right? It's literally kind of like Voldemort, right? You can't say its name. Well, you're going to lose the customer's interest, and you're going to lose the deal if that's where you start.
Yeah.
You know, John, you mentioned IntelliPeer, and Robert. One of the things that is kind of going right to what you're talking about, Robert, is with that IntelliPeer program. One of those programs, we got super aligned from a messaging standpoint to what the end, essentially making the end customer, like not the people that IntelliPeer was selling to, but their end customer, making them the hero, making them the center of these programs, and really understanding what is the experience that you're trying to create for that end customer. Whether from a customer experience standpoint, from a sales standpoint, whatever that was. We had retail, I think we had travel industry in there, and some others, and we used a highly focused account-based approach to really personalize that experience. So if we were talking to an airline, it was literally, here is, Qantas airline customer sitting in an airport trying to reschedule a flight or whatever, and using the IntelliPeer technology to, invisibly to them, but, to be able to facilitate that and improve communication and connection with those customers. So really, like you said, none of it was about the technology. We hardly talked about technology in any of that, but it was incredibly effective in generating conversations with the business decision makers, because they were the ones that wanted to create that experience for their customers. And that angle was incredibly effective.
Yeah. I like to remind myself this, and I often say it to our strategy and execution teams, is there's always a C, even though we might be doing B2B growth, there's always a C, a consumer that somebody cares about. And so the brand and even the partner that helps connect the B2B to the end user C, consumer, is the winner. I really think what you just said is a really kind of an unlock for great B2B go-to-market.
Yeah. And it takes time, right? This isn't something you wake up today and then by the end of the week, you've got a program in place. You really need to think about things from the customer's perspective, right? And even at IntelliPeer, we were working through, it was an incredibly technical solution that we were talking about, right? We're layering in APIs and programmability on top of somebody else's tech stack, and we're doing all of these cool things with AI, but I don't think we talked about any of that really as we were going through those initial programs. Right?
Yeah.
Let's we talked about some things that we see that drive success. What are a couple of things that you guys are seeing just absolutely flop out there in the market right now?
I think there's one big thing, and it kind of ties into what we were just talking about, but we are all seeing that the role that the technical buyer plays is shifting pretty dramatically. And so when we see programs that are highly focused on selling and convincing the technical buyer as the tip of the spear, those programs are tending to be less and less effective. The technical buyer's decision making, their role in making decisions for technical buys, we see that decreasing, but their influence is increasing. So they are involved in more parts of the business as an influencer. They usually have veto power. Really, is where their main lever is. And so programs that are not leading with that business value and speaking to that business decision maker, that executive sponsor in marketing, in the contact center, in the field, on the field sales team, whoever it is that is saying that owns that customer experience and really wants to own that outcome and that result. If they are not the tip of the spear, we see that those programs tend to have more trouble generating traction within accounts. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but the IT buyer we see is having, while they're getting more influence, they're having less, they're less of a driver than they were, 15, 20 years ago.
Yep.
I would add a couple of things to the list of don't do this, the don't do this list. Totally agree with what you just said, Aaron. Another one would be, and even for really big companies, you have got to focus on where you win. And so, we shorten that to ideal client profile, right? ICP. But your ICP can still be a large number of accounts necessarily, but like strongly recommend not just sort of going after your entire TAM. Strongly recommend not that. Another one is over the last decade, the field of marketing in particular, I think, has over-rotated onto bottom of funnel active demand. And I understand why. It's because marketing is trying to go to where it can prove its value. And the easiest way to do that is to go to the bottom of the funnel, focus on active demand, source a lead, quote unquote, that sales can win. And so I get why, but we have over-rotated in many companies. And what now we're beginning to realize is that we need to bring brand and demand into better balance. And what that means is recognizing, and this is so true in telecom, is that in any given day, week, month, or quarter, there's a relatively small percentage of your TAM that is actually anywhere near buying. And so if that's the case, it begs the question, if you only go try to fish for active demand, someone who's buying this week, chances are very, very high that you're going to be wasting that message, that active buy now message, on the vast majority of people who are receiving it. You might even actually be hurting your brand by doing that. And so I won't step off the soapbox that I'm on right now, but I think there is so much maturity, go-to-market maturity, that needs to start to come back into B2B companies when they think about how they grow. And I think this brand and demand balance is super critical. And I don't think CMOs and chief commercial officers and CEOs are talking about that enough. I really don't.
Yep. Yeah, and we're definitely seeing that in the Alliance, where you've got a handful of the cream of the crop that really get this and are leading in the marketing side. They're absolutely talking about brand and where you need to invest. And we're really working to push that into the rest of the membership base, because you guys are right. In any given point in time, there's only so many people out there looking for a solution. What are you doing about the rest of them? And I also want to echo, Aaron, when you look at the playbook that we've got, the IT buyer has traditionally been that technology buyer. But when you look at the success stories and the solutions in the playbook, the less than half of those solutions are actually getting sold to the IT buyer now, right? We've actually got phenomenal stories in there around the contact center owner, the marketing owner, the operations owner. So I love that we're aligned there, and we're actually seeing real results out in the market around what you guys are saying.
Yeah,
that's great.
So let's talk about, we've been through the cookie apocalypse. I think is that the phrase? We've been through intent-based marketing and ABM. What are the things that you guys are super excited as you're looking out across the future? What are the big trends that you see? What are the things you're excited about in terms of marketing?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we're excited about is that when we talk to our clients, who tend to be CMOs or CROs, we do a whole lot of marketing. We pull a lot of marketing levers, but we don't say the word marketing a lot for a couple of reasons. One is, there's a minority of time when you want to walk into a board meeting or a C-suite meeting or a cross-functional go-to-market growth meeting and talk about marketing shit. Most people don't care. They want it's kind of like talking about features and feeds and speeds. Nobody really cares. They care about what features and feeds and speeds will do for you. And the parallel is, don't talk marketing. Talk about what marketing can and should do for growth. And so what we're most excited about are these integrated growth plays. And that's what this collaboration that we're doing together with CPaaSAA is all about, is recognizing that growth is fundamentally a team sport. It has to be a team sport between product, brand, demand marketing, and sales. And when you harness those superpowers cross-functionally by giving them a cross-functionally smart growth play, a playbook that is built on modern understanding of B2B buying patterns and leverages modern channels of engagement, modern approaches to content, and modern revenue operations technology data. That's what works. That's what works. And so if you can't tell, I am geeked out about that stuff. It's what Aaron and I talk about and do every day with our team.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, and I'd build on that and say, I think I'm going to say something that might be a little contrarian for a lot of the marketing and sales and revenue and business folks out there who are 100% focused on AI and things like that. I actually think that the future of marketing and the future of sales, the future of revenue growth, future of business really is actually a lot more human and a lot more personal. than we think. And I think we're seeing these technologies allow us to be able to connect together and to identify, instead of you trying to speak to 20,000 potential decision makers at a time, being able to talk to the 100 who are actually in market right now, who actually want to have a conversation with you. And you're still putting things out there for the others, but you're actually able to be a lot more personal and see people as individual humans, individual buyers. They aren't leads, they're not accounts. These are individuals with hopes and dreams and concerns and fears. And I believe that the future of business is going to look a lot more like our grandparents, how they did business. My grandpa owned a painting and stucco business, and he knew every single customer and knew their kids' names and everything. I think it's going to look a lot more like that than it did our parents' generation, where it was very, depersonalized and, sort of mass market. So I'm hopeful for that anyway. I hope I'm right, because, I'm a human who likes humans, and I've never met a lead that I like. I meet people I like, though.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this comes down to connecting on a human level, right?
Yeah.
And solving human problems. So I love that, Aaron. So we've got some cool stuff coming up. September 11th, we're going to be doing a webinar. We'll be walking through best practices. And then, Aaron, you and I are going to be taking some of these really awesome solutions in the playbook and showing how those translate into a demand gen program. So I'm really excited to get that out in front of people. And these are things that, whether you're a communications service provider or managed service provider, these are things that you can take directly out to market and start engaging customers with. And we're working to make that as simple as possible. So that's one thing we got coming up. And then, John, you're going to be joining us in beautiful Amsterdam here, September 17th, 18th. This is a huge opportunity, because one of the key things that we focus on here is how are we bringing solutions to market, and we've got an entire go-to-market track. So we'll have you up on stage, leading a discussion around what are best practices, what are we seeing in the market, and really engaging with people. So what are you excited about as you come visit us in Amsterdam this year?
Oh, thanks for asking. And I cannot wait to be a part of it. It sounds like a great event that happened last year, and it sounds like it's going to be even better this year. There's several things that I think the audience will really enjoy and find valuable. One is we're going to talk about what has changed in buying behavior and what has changed in terms of go-to-market strategy over the last really decade, but also the last 5 years in particular. Because there are a lot of companies that are still acting like it's 2014, not 2024. So that's one thing we're going to do. Then we're going to talk about how what used to be the modern best class growth strategy, growth playbook is now the old playbook. And what does that old playbook look like? Which then sets up what we're going to mostly talk about is what is the new playbook? What does the smarter growth playbook look like? What are the pillars of a smarter, more effective, more efficient go-to-market and growth engine that really is forming the basis of what you and Aaron have been putting together in terms of that chocolate peanut butter program. So I think we're going to do that. And then also, I just enjoy hanging out with other go-to-market and growth geeks, because I just love this stuff.
Awesome. Yeah. Last year was a great go-to-market session. This year, it really feels like a must visit, must attend session for our membership base. Can't wait to see you up on stage with everybody. And I can't wait for the rest of the tracks, because this is really going to tie everything together, going all the way from we've got a strategy to we've got a product to we're ready to sell. Now let's engage buyers. And I'm really excited to see this journey come together and really see things tactically and in real life come together for our membership base. So, John, Aaron, always a pleasure. Thanks for hopping on this.
Thank you.
On the podcast today, and we'll have several more sessions coming up.
That sounds great. And by the way, you probably are, knowing you, Robert, you're doing something like this already. But for anybody who's listening to this, if you are coming to Amsterdam either in person or virtually, and you have a question about go-to-market or growth programs or demand or marketing that you really know you need an answer for, reach out to Robert with your question, and I promise I will address it on stage in Amsterdam.
Love it. Awesome. All right, guys, have a great rest of the day, and we'll see everybody soon.
All right.
Thanks, Robert.